So the other day, Richard from Teroldi Technologies passed through the fridge office. So we just sit down with him and had a chat about what his business does and also what he thinks of the fridge networking events. So let's dive into it. Let's see what he says and let's go. So today we have Richard from Teroldi Technologies. And so it would be good to hear a bit of your backstory, Richard. Sort of what has brought you to this point today?
So I suppose I've been developing the business or businesses over the last 10 years because I started in the industry about 10 years ago. It's a technology industry, so you're always learning, you're always developing. And for the last year or so, I've been working on Teroldi, which is working as a technology advisory, I suppose is the best way of putting what we really do. We provide all of the IT support, backup, maintenance, all the things you really expect of a traditional IT company, without the jargon and babble that you normally get from a traditional IT company. It's something I learned over the years we were doing it, is that you went into so many businesses and the owners just expected to have the technology guy come in and rabbit on about the latest this, the most sophisticated that, and it just went completely over the business owner's head, and it didn't help them in the slightest. So that's where we've got to now, is going, actually, we're the guys who understand that, and we're the ones who will be able to help that sort of business to really thrive by finding out what they want and putting it in, and they don't have to worry about all the mumbo jumbo.
Sounds good to me. I'm not a great fan of mumbo jumbo. So tell us exactly what services you actually provide and what you actually do.
So the core service, I joked the other day, it's actually the only service we provide is what's traditionally known as advice. I actually prefer to call it listening. Because when you go in, particularly to a new business, you need to listen a lot. I'm dyslexic. I have a background that shapes my entire background, and my experience has been that when people come and help you, they listen very little, they talk at you a great deal, and they shove solutions down your throat, and that doesn't help. So I went into dealing with these small businesses, and I realised they get exactly the same thing from their technology companies. They don't listen very much, they talk a lot at them, and they shove solutions down their throat, and those solutions normally don't work very well. So, as I said, our core service, it's advice, it's consultancy, but really it's listening, going into these businesses, finding out what they want, what do they want to do, and then being able to go away and provide them with that, but based on what they need. So that's kind of the service, but what sits behind that is obviously we have to be able to, if we're going to do that, we have to be able to do the design, the install, put the technology in. And then once you've got that technology, you then need somebody to look after it, because sadly, technology's got a lot more reliable, but it's still not perfect. Heck, it's still not entirely user-friendly, and you still need somebody just to be able to sat there at the other end of the phone, or pop into your office and go, yeah, that's how you do it. So we provide that backup, that kind of person behind you who can say, yeah, it's fine, this is how you do it. And yeah, then we go on to all of the behind the scenes services, the things you never see. So the backup systems, which mean that you don't end up losing all your data in a fire and lose your company. The protection to make sure you don't wind up with a virus rampaging its way through your business and destroying all your data. As I said, it's called kind of boring stuff, but it's all the stuff you expect to be there and you need.
And you've actually raised a couple of interesting points. I mean, it's very interesting to see what's happening in the industry at the moment. What sort of trends are you seeing, and what are you seeing changing? I think, to me, you've just mentioned two things, is that not every sort of technology talks to each other, and then also the legal requirement now is that so many people need to back up their data. Is there any,
the major thing that's changed in the industry is it's the advent of the iPad. So it's mobile technologies, and mobile technologies going from being, I can get into the office from my laptop, to I can get into the office anywhere, I can just turn my device on and I'm in and I'm away. That has really significantly changed the way that people do business and therefore the way that they need to be supported, because you have potentially confidential information on the mobile device. So you need to be able to make sure that if that device ever goes missing, that information becomes immediately inaccessible. The information is backed up, because if the information is only on the device and it's important to your business and the device gets lost, even if it's not business sensitive, it still can be exceedingly damaging. So it's going through, it's understanding all of these things and making sure that the right protection is in place, but equally that when you've got the right protection, staff can get on with what they need to do. They can do what they need to do. They can get out and see customers. They can see potential clients, and they can do it all really quite freely. I mean, I think probably one of the biggest changes will be a reduction in the amount of office space that is needed, because you'll have so many people who used to be tied to their desks, having to fill in paperwork, will suddenly find that they need a desk a day a week, maybe, and they can spend much more of their time out doing probably what they enjoy, which is actually getting to with customers and talking to them and understanding what their customers need, and not having the business to get in the way.
So, to a degree, technology is becoming a facilitator rather than a hindrance to many businesses. Exactly.
I mean, it's with anything which isn't core to a business, I see it as being a tool.
Yeah.
So, a mobile phone really should have the same impact on a business as a hammer. Does to a carpenter. It just it's a glorified, complicated hammer. It does a job. That's all it does. It really shouldn't be that the mobile phone, the iPad, whatever, rules the business. It is there to support the business.
That very, very insightful and quite funny at the moment, because on this table there's an iPad and an iPhone, and they're all synced up and they're all fantastic. But yeah, keeping the data between the two and making sure I've got my data is actually quite a challenge in the right place at the right time, although they sync, but not always perfectly. So you've obviously been to a couple, we're going to move on to fridge networking now. You've obviously been to a couple of fridge networking events. You came to the very first one in Bristol, the inaugural one around the UK, you could say. Is there anything that made you sceptical about coming to fridge in the first place, or?
I went along with an open mind. I've been along to groups which are, you hear a lot of hype about them, and you go in and you just think this is a room full of people who are here to try and sell to each other. Or you go into the room and find it's a room full of people who moan. So you sometimes go along to these things with a bit of trepidation. Fridge, I'm very pleased to say, was not one of those. It has done 3 now.
Yep.
And the room has always been filled with interesting people. It's not filled with people, so it's not only pure business people. It's a good mix, which is brilliant, because that tends to mean you don't get the room full of salespeople where everyone's selling and nobody's listening, which is something that a lot of people, if you go along to a lot of these events, you just go, why am I here? Because it's just a room full of salespeople. But I think one of the big things I liked most about Fridge is you can get a lot of information from people. You can have a lot of discussions, useful discussions, discussions that possibly change your way of thinking about things slightly.
Yeah.
Or you make contacts which you can then use later on to be able to help you develop and run your business more effectively. And yes, it's sort of, as with any room like that, as a businessman, you're always going, is there somebody here who can connect me to customers? And yes, there are those sorts of people in the room as well. So it's got the mix, which is brilliant.
Yeah, well, fantastic. I mean, what sort of initially, what was the ultimate sort of thing that made you start coming to Fridge and then, I guess, come back? I think you've explained lots of it, but was there something that really you thought, yes, that was the ultimate, that was the particular point that made me come back?
I think it's probably because I really enjoyed the meetings.
Yeah.
It's nothing more complicated or technical than it was really just a very enjoyable meeting.
Yeah.
And
with a free glass of wine, of course, or a juice, or
juice in my
whatever
case,
it
yeah, 'cause I'm
was.
driving, so it's not you're not even tempting me in with the alcohol. So it's no, it is just a room full of really good people, and you enjoy spending time around them, and that is almost worth it entirely for itself. So it's I know you don't want it to be a social club exclusively, but
yeah, I mean, it's nice that there's a mix of social and business, and hopefully everyone's not in the room selling to each other. We're all, like you said, we're all learning, and we've all learned so much already. So fantastic. What specific benefits have you gained from Fridge? I mean, you've covered quite a few, and but are there any specific sort of ideas that you've come away with that you really think, well, that you said things have changed, or you've changed your thinking slightly?
I'm just trying to think. Probably, I suspect that if you'd just said to me what benefits specifically, I probably would have gone off with it's the contacts I've made. Made some really good contacts. Been invited along to some other things as well to expand the contacts I've got. And as the point I'm at in my business at the moment, contacts are what I really need. So that's been one of the kind of the key things to me. Then we're actually kind of meeting you and Will has actually been pretty awesome in itself, because it's both of you guys have some quite interesting backgrounds, and that's quite just hearing about those backgrounds has almost been an education in itself.
I think I can say the same back to you as well. So fantastic. And so obviously Fridge is about sharing knowledge and ideas between everyone. Who is there anyone else that you would sort of recommend that came to Fridge, or is there any type of person that you'd really say they should come to a Fridge event?
People I think would do well. Any person who has just got into business. Particularly if you've just got into business and it's you or maybe you and one other, that can be an incredibly lonely time. I've been there, yes, I've done it. It's especially if you haven't gone through and had a business training somewhere in your background before you got into business by yourself, you can flounder very, very easily. And having a room which is, it's got quite a number of people in there who have been where you are not very long ago, so can empathise with you and can give you kind of hints and tips of this is what I did 6 months ago to get past your problem. This is what I did 2 years ago to get past that same problem. And of course, the other thing I haven't mentioned is that you also make sure there's a few wise owls in the room who've been going around the block a few times and have the experience there, who can then put it in a much longer term context. So that is really, I can see as a huge benefit to a business that's just starting. So you then move on to younger businesses they've started, they're successful, but they need to get out, they need to build contacts, they need to kind of meet people. They probably still need some of the things that the younger businesses did as well, because you still, throughout your business career, you still need to be developing contacts. You still need to be able to build your networks around you so that they support you. But I think those slightly older businesses would also benefit from the contacts they can make and the people they can find in the room, and hopefully, in actual fact, being slightly materialistic about it, when you meet those contacts in the room, you can get money out of them because they will refer you on to people. I mean, I know you're talking to the great Sarah Owen about referral stuff, and you're planning to bring that into Fridge, and it's a case of the more people we can get in there who understand referral, Fridge is just going to fly with that behind it. Well,
thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time today, and look forward to seeing you at a Fridge event soon.